Hello and welcome to Rise and Unwind. I'm AV. Each week, we connect with people all over the country to spotlight things you can check out right in your own neighborhood. On this week's show, we've got a little bit of everything, such as this.
I'll never forget it. I'll never stop being grateful. I'm not over it. We were filming for 6 months and I'm not over it.
All that and more right here on Rise and Unwind.
There's something powerful about a song that feels real, like it was pulled straight out of someone's life. Country artist Harper Grace has a new single called If Daddy Says No, and it's all about that push and pull between following your heart and honoring where you came from. She's a Texas native with more than 17 million career streams and national TV appearances under her belt, and now she's stepping into country radio in a very big way. Harper Grace, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm so wonderful. How are you? Thanks for having me.
We're doing good over here. We were listening, and that song just feels really personal. What was happening in your life when you wrote If Daddy Says No?
Well, I'll tell you what. I was in a relationship that I thought I was so in love, and I was ready to run away, get married, and do all the things. But thank the Lord, because my dad said no. So this is a very, very true, very personal story. And at the time I wrote this song, I was really stuck in between what the right decision was. I grew up in Texas. I have been so close with my dad ever since I was little. We went to father-daughter camps together, and I've always, always respected his opinion and what he thought of really anything. And at this time, I was in a relationship that did not honor me very well at all, as well as didn't honor my dad or my family. And so that really, really ate me up on the inside, which is what inspired If Daddy Says No. And it was a scary thing to write, and it's been a scary thing to talk about, but I'll tell you that the listeners of getting the opportunity of playing this song live have really been the thing for me to be encouraged to actually share this point of my life, because after I've played it live, I've heard so many different people's story of whether their dad actually did say no, and it was, a really bad relationship and they are no longer together and went through a divorce or whatever it may be, or their dad said no and they actually didn't end up getting married, or their dad didn't, chime in and they wish they did, or their dad did say no and they're living happily ever after. So there's so many different outcomes. And when I wrote If Daddy Says No, the lyrics don't have a resolution in the song, so that the listener is able to piece together what it is that their story might be in the midst of the lyrics. And so for me, my resolution was my dad did say no, not to love, but to remind me that true love is worth waiting for, and finding somebody that really, really honors and respects you as a human being, as well as your family and what matters most to you is important.
And you've already had some huge milestones, national TV performances, 17 million streams, even a Netflix sync. How does this single feel different as your first one going into country radio?
Honestly, it feels like I ripped a piece out of my heart and put it on paper and then passed it out to a bunch of people. And I think that that's the beauty in it. I think that I always have fun writing music. I always enjoy telling, fun stories with Take It to the Grave, Getaway, that's in the Netflix movie. But this song was so personal and so vulnerable. And I just wanted that to set the tone for this year, especially coming out with new music towards the end of the year as well. This is kind of this waterfall trickling in on an album, hopefully soon, and the album would be called Dear Heart. So these are really pages just ripped out of my heart of areas of my life that people don't quite know about, that I'm ready to share because of having the opportunity of playing them live for a couple of years now, and knowing that so many other people have also walked through these situations and these experiences in much different ways. But yeah, it does feel different because it feels vulnerable.
All right, here's a question I like to ask artists and people that are creators. Who is an inspiration for you that is outside of the type of, that is not a musician or somebody like that, like a country singer, that is outside doing their own art? Who is in another form of art is an inspiration to you that you use in your own world and building creativity?
In another form of art, I think I spend a lot of time listening to music, so that is definitely something that in the most artistic thing has drawn me. But I do listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of preachers. And I think that that's a whole nother art, is bringing scripture to life and talking about it. Jensen Franklin is someone that I really look up to. Jonathan Pokluda is someone that I look up to. Sadie Robertson. There's this wonderful podcast called Girls Gone Bible. I listen to that a lot. So I think maybe that's another piece of art in my personal opinion that I really draw a lot of inspiration from.
And for people who discovered you for the first time, how would you describe your sound, and what would you want them to feel when they actually hear this track?
I would describe it, my sound in general would be a soulful country with a little bit of classic added to it. I would hope that when people hear If Daddy Says No, that they could do some, maybe some searching of what that personal piece is that is attached to that song, and know that there's ways to get it out and talk about it, and music is a wonderful way to piece personal bits of your own life, whether that's If Daddy Says No or your favorite artist. But yeah.
Harper Grace, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. You can check out Harper Grace's new single, If Daddy Says No, when it hits streaming platforms February 27th. And to learn more, you can follow her journey. Visit harpergracexo.com and find her on social media. Harper, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful time. Top tier, 10 out of 10.
Well, thank you. More than 60 years of rock, and they're still filling arenas. From Rock You Like a Hurricane to Wind of Change, the Scorpions have sold over 110 million records and helped define rock for generations. Now they're heading back to Las Vegas for a brand new residency celebrating 6 decades of music. So joining us from Germany, we've got Klaus, Meine, and Matthias of Scorpions. It's great to have you both here. How are you?
Great.
Very good. How are you? Thanks for having
Good morning.
us.
I'm doing good. All right. It's been 60 years. That's one heck of a long time for pretty much any business. When you look back, what stands out most about the journey from those in the early days in Hanover to now headlining another Vegas residency?
Oh, it's crazy when you think about it, because for German band, when we started out in the early 70s, writing lyrics in English, it was a big dream, to say one day we'll play the United States. And when we had the chance to come over in 79 and throughout the 80s, this dream came true, and it's a wonderful thing after so many years that we're still together, still playing a global stage and, still rocking like a hurricane. And we can't wait to come back for another residency in Vegas in September, and hope many, many fans from all over the place will join us and see us there.
And songs, like you mentioned, Rock You Like a Hurricane, No One Like You, and Winds of Change, still connect with a new audience. What do you think gives those songs that staying power?
I mean, first of all, with No One Like You, I think we were in 1982 with a Blackout tour. We were the most played radio song on rock radio, at least, and gave us the headline status in the States touring, and then followed by Rock You Like a Hurricane. The 80s were extremely good for the Scorpions, and with Wind of Change, we topped it all in the early 90s, and those are 3 iconic songs which we still play live and which carried us through the decades, plus many other songs like Still Loving You, Big City Nights, whatever we have. And all those greatest hits we will play on stage at the residency in Vegas.
Yes, Vegas has become a home base for you. The last couple of years, and I think we talked last year, what makes this residency different from the previous runs you've done?
We have to find out. I mean, we are still on the 60th anniversary tour. We will always play the greatest hits because there's such a great demand from the fans. But we have time enough to think about something very special.
So when you build the set list for a show like this, how do you balance the massive hits with some of the deeper cuts and maybe even some new material?
They have to be a good balance, because there's so many songs that the fans want to hear, definitely, and so we throw in songs also from Rock Believer, our latest album, like songs like Gas in the Tank, but also all-time classics like The Zoo, Loving You Sunday Morning, Tease Me, Please Me, all these rockers, and a couple of beautiful ballads like Send Me an Angel are in the set as well, so many songs we just have to play, and then we think about on digging deep into some other material we haven't played for quite a while.
So after 6 decades, what still excites you about walking on stage and hearing that crowd?
The fans. I mean, it's a roar of the audience. The minute you go out, you might be nervous before you walk out on stage, but the minute you see the fans, you're connected and it clicks, you know. And together we have a magic evening, rocking out like crazy. And especially in Vegas, there couldn't be a better place to celebrate 60 years of Scorpions.
Hey, I want to thank you two for joining me today. Scorpions coming home to Las Vegas. 60 plus years of Scorpions kick off this fall at PH Live at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. Tickets are on sale now. Get them at Ticketmaster.com/ScorpionsVegas. If you ever wanted to hear those anthems live in one room, this is your chance. I want to thank you two one more time for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy. Have a good day.
Have you ever wondered how investigators actually track down predators hiding behind a screen? Online crimes against children are one of the fastest growing threats, and the work to stop them often happens quietly through digital clues, undercover conversations, and long investigations. A new investigative series gives viewers a rare look inside those operations. Detective Tony Godwin leads the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force in North Texas and has worked nearly 7,000 cases over a 30-year career. Detective Godwin joins us now. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I am great. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
So your team investigates crimes that start online but can have real consequences. What does a typical case look like from the first digital clue to the moment someone is arrested?
I mean, it really evolves rapidly. That's the one thing that I think the audience is going to notice, how quickly things happen and how quickly things escalate. But from the moment we put ourselves in this situation in an undercover capacity and the elements of the crime are met, which doesn't take long at all, like it's so fast and so quick, then it takes me and my entire team to put together all the steps necessary, legal process, and put all the affirmative links back together to figure out where this person is, who this person is, and then get ready for a takedown and hopefully a good arrest.
In the series, we see undercover operations where investigators pose as minors online. What goes into building those cases and making sure the evidence holds up in court?
I mean, people need to remember that everything that we do in an undercover capacity is based on what we know has happened to a real child. Unfortunately, children are exploited every single day online. And as a result, those reports get made and sent to us, and those are called reactive cases. So we know where they go. We know how they're talking. We know what they're doing, and we know what's happening to them. So we base everything we do in the undercover world just like that. We just put ourselves out there. Once it happens, once the communications start, which does not take long at all. And then once those elements go is when we move forward with all the legal process to get things tied together in a nice big bow on top of it, and hopefully ends with a great arrest and a successful prosecution.
And you've worked nearly 7,000 cases during your career. How has the way predators online changed over the years?
Well, we saw a big increase during the COVID time. I will tell you that. We were forcing our children online and into school environments in an online capacity. And so we were just generally pushing everybody online because of our COVID scare and the things that were going around that. And so at the end of the day, it's like a pleasure paradise playground for these predatory types who are already in these platforms and doing what they're doing. And so they had a target-rich environment in front of them. So it has increased. And so also awareness has increased over time, but I'm hopeful it's going to increase even more with the show that's come out on A&E, because we want that intentionality. We want people to know. We want to raise the awareness level of the average person who maybe has some knowledge of this, but doesn't really understand the gravity of what it is. And you're going to see this highlighted in the show. Obviously, it ends with a nice high five moment when we put people in cuffs and we arrest them. And that's a very satisfying, rewarding part of the process.
And for parents that might be watching this at home, what are some of the warning signs that a child might be interacting with someone dangerous online?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First and foremost, I would say pay attention to the behavior changes. You know your child better than anybody. So if you have a child who's an A student that comes down to a C or a D student, then at the end of the day, you know something's going on. Maybe their friend group has changed a little bit. Maybe they're normally very outgoing, but all of a sudden they're really introverted. That could be a red flag that something's going on. Secondly, I would say know how to access your kid's device. Know the passcodes. Know the platforms they go to. Know that some of the platforms have their own passcodes that might be different from the code to get into the phone. Educate yourself about what they're doing and how they're doing it. Being intentional over time, not a one-time deal. This isn't I get to go look one time and then back out of it. If you need to use monitoring software to help with that, then do that. I'm a big proponent of that. But you need to be very intentional. You need to lean in. You need to have constructive, age-appropriate conversations with your kiddo so that at the end of the day, if something does happen, that child's going to come to you or a trusted adult and say, hey, I'm in a pickle, I've done something, or this is what's happened, I need some help. And you already have a path of what's going to happen to get that child back on a good restorative path.
And the show gives viewers a behind-the-scenes look at your task force and the work that you do every day. What do you hope people understand better after watching these investigations play out?
I mean, take into account, there's a little bit of shock and a little bit of awe. Most people are going to notice because after the first show came out last week, my phone almost melted with all these comments and questions about how graphic these predators are and how quickly things escalate. And that is reality. And so I think they're going to take away that, but I think they're also going to have this awareness level that has just increased exponentially. I think they're going to learn from some takeaways that are going to be highlighted on the show, that what they can do and what if something has happened, what if something's already happened. There's a lot of resources that are available to them. And I think they're going to enjoy the entertainment side of it, which is the arrest or the takedown. Those are all really great moments. And I'm really happy to be a part of the program with A&E.
Detective Godwin, I want to thank you for joining me today. You can watch Predator Hunters Thursdays on A&E, and episodes are also available to stream on the A&E app and ANETV.com. Detective Tony Godwin, I really want to thank you for joining us today.
I really appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience. Thank you so much.
It's not every day you see daughters planning their mom's wedding, but that is exactly what this new series is all about. Mom the Bride flips the script and follows women helping their moms celebrate love later in life, from dress fittings to the big day itself. Erin Cahill hosts the series on Hallmark Plus, and she's joining us now. Erin, it's great to see you. How are you?
Hi, it's great to see you, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right, this idea really flips the traditional mother of the bride role, but what stood out to you in this concept?
Oh, well, what you just said, it's really flipping the script on weddings. We're used to seeing, it's right there in the intro. We're used to seeing moms plan their daughters' weddings, but to see the daughters have the opportunity to do this for their mothers is honestly one of the sweetest things I've ever experienced in my life.
And each episode, it follows a different family. What kind of stories or moments can viewers expect to see?
Well, so it's 6 real mothers and daughters, 6 real weddings. And what you can expect to see is everything you would anticipate with a wedding. The excitement, the stress, but also like inspiration and joy. And you can expect surprises in every episode. We really set our mind to surprising the brides and the families. And it is such a joy-filled ride, and it's all the emotions. That's the other thing you can expect. You can expect happiness, tears, laughter, and being really touched.
And you mentioned there's a lot of emotion packed into this. What surprised you the most while working with these moms and daughters?
I was pleasantly surprised at how much it meant to everybody. I knew, in my heart that would be the case, but to see these daughters just want to get it so right for their moms, and then to see the moms letting go of the steering wheel, and saying, okay, yes, take care of me for once, thank you, was just so special. It honestly, it's such an honor and a joy to be part of this with them. Oh, I will never forget it. I'll never stop being grateful. I'm not over it. We were filming for 6 months and I'm not over it.
And you've been part of so many Hallmark projects. How does hosting a series like this compare to acting in one?
Oh, I've never experienced anything like this in my life. I've never done anything, unscripted in this way. And so to get to, to go to work every day, I say work because it was such a joy, but to get to go to work and be part of this. I got to go to cake tastings and dress fittings and go to pick out venues. And it was such a blast. It didn't feel like work. It just truly felt like a gift. And I fell in love with each one of these families so purely. So by the time the weddings came around, I was like,
And the show really celebrates love a little later in life and
Yes.
family connection. What do you hope people take away after watching?
Oh, I love that. I hope that people feel inspired by what you just said, that connection, that family bond. I hope people feel, mothers and daughters for sure. Of course, I hope you get related back to your own love and you're like, oh, you want to call your mom and say, I love you. Or, mothers call their daughters and say, I love you. But really it's about the whole family. I hope that people just feel so inspired about love and connection and family and celebrating that.
Erin Cahill, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Mom's the Bride is now streaming on Hallmark Plus, so you can watch the full series pretty much any time you feel. All right, Erin, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
Most people don't think much about shingles until somebody they know goes through it. It's tied to a virus many of us had since childhood, and when it comes back, it can be pretty disruptive. For adults over 50, the risk climbs quickly, but there are ways to stay ahead of it. Dr. Leonard Friedland and Dr. Samantha Picking are here to break it all down. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
And for people who haven't experienced it, what is shingles actually like, and how does it affect day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's a great question. If you haven't experienced it or you don't know someone that has experienced it, you may not be aware of what it's really like. And this is Samantha Picking, Senior Director of Immunizations at Walgreens. Now, shingles is commonly known as a rash, but it's really more than just a rash. You can get fever, headache, chills, upset stomach even, and the pain during shingles, it actually can last for weeks, and it affects your day-to-day life. So think of time with family and friends or work or hobbies, even sleep can be disruptive. So shingles can happen at any time. You may not really know when it's going to hit you. And it doesn't matter what's going on with your life. So it could be interrupting weddings, graduations, major life events, whatever you have on your calendar.
So why does the risk increase once people reach 50?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I'm Dr. Leonard Friedland, a vaccine research scientist at GSK. No matter how well we feel, our immune systems will naturally weaken as we age. And starting at age 50, the risk of developing shingles then sharply increases. Shingles, also called herpes zoster, it's a painful, blistering rash that's caused by the very same virus that causes chickenpox. And once you've had chickenpox, that virus remains dormant in the body and it can reactivate years later, causing shingles. 99% of adults 50 and older already have the chickenpox virus in their body. And 1 in 3 people will develop shingles over a course of their lifetime. So age is one of the most important risk factors for shingles, and 50 is when that risk begins to increase.
So why is now a good time for adults 50 plus to check in with their local Walgreens pharmacist about shingles?
Yeah, I mean, we all may feel young and healthy well beyond our 50th birthday, but the truth is, as you mentioned, the immune system does start to weaken, and then the risk of developing shingles increases as we age. So people may not believe that shingles will impact them or it's something that older people experience, but shingles is more common than people may realize. 1 million people develop shingles every year. So this is the reminder to our Gen Xers out there who were born before 1976. You're at increased risk for shingles. Now is the time to be proactive. Talk to your local Walgreens pharmacist. You can walk in anytime and talk about prevention.
And beyond age, what other risk factors should people be aware of?
Well, we talked about age being one of the most important risk factors for shingles, as most cases do occur in people 50 years and older, but stress can also increase your risk. Additionally, Dan, certain health conditions like diabetes, chronic kidney disease, and heart diseases, all of these have been associated with an increased risk of shingles. So if you're 50 and older, especially if you have one of those health conditions, speak to your pharmacist about your risks for shingles and about prevention.
And how can a quick conversation with a Walgreens pharmacist really help someone prevent it?
It's a great question. Now, remember, your Walgreens pharmacist is your local, trusted, accessible healthcare provider who can assess your risk for vaccine-preventable diseases like shingles. They can help guide that conversation, answer any questions or concerns you may have, and then really talk about prevention. So for those 50 years of age and older, I encourage you to ask your Walgreens pharmacist about your specific risk for shingles. It's really easy. You can walk in at any time. Like I said, they're super accessible. But if you want to plan ahead, you can also visit walgreens.com and schedule an appointment ahead of time.
So where can people go if they want to learn more about shingles?
If you're 50 years of age and older, ask your local pharmacist about your risk for certain vaccine-preventable diseases, including shingles. We also have another website. It's easyvax.com, EASYVAX, easyvax.com. And at that website, you can find a pharmacist near where you live and make an appointment to go in, speak with the pharmacist about certain vaccine preventable diseases, including shingles, and about prevention.
All right, you two. I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you
for having us.
Starting a business used to mean big upfront costs and being in the right city at the right time. That's shifted quite a bit, and now we're seeing more people launch from just about anywhere. There's also a noticeable rise in new businesses across the country, and it's not always where you'd expect. Allison Todd is here to help us make sense of it. Welcome to the show, Allison. How are you?
Well, doing well, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what's really driving this recent surge in new business creation?
Absolutely. We're seeing a few factors at play here around, post-pandemic global economy really going all online and leaning into that work from anywhere mentality. A big generational shift with our upcoming Gen Zs and millennials and being more entrepreneurially minded than previous generations. And of course, technology is certainly accelerating that path.
So how have the costs of starting a business changed over the past few years?
They've plummeted. Technology and artificial intelligence utilization has allowed any entrepreneur to get started at a lot lower upfront cost. Technology stacks, eliminate talent needs, some infrastructure needs. It is a lot more scalable today than it was 10 years ago to get that initial filing going.
So what tools or resources are making it easier for people to kind of get something off the ground today?
Yeah, certainly. I think the cloud has taken a big infrastructure cost off the books for many companies, especially those building in the technology space, being able to host things in the cloud. Our small businesses are leveraging e-commerce platforms and being able to sell across the nation versus just in their small towns, digital payment platforms, and of course, artificial intelligence.
So why are more founders choosing to look beyond like some of the major coastal cities?
Our coastal communities have great density of talent, capital, and founding ideas, but the runway needed for a business to get off the ground is a lot longer here in the Midwest. I would say there is a lot less capital needs to just get out the gate. Talent is more affordable. Your office buildings are more affordable, so you can go further on less when you're here in the Midwest.
So what's making Michigan stand out as a place to start or grow a business?
We have a really great recipe of research, talent, and capital at play here in Michigan. Research, we have 4 R1 universities throughout the state that are producing ideas ready for commercialization left and right. We have a really strong workforce that is used to building things. We really have a strong engineering per capita density in the state of Michigan. And talent. Capital. We've seen a lot of great resources being thrown behind early stage businesses, diversifying our economy and helping those businesses scale through venture capital dollars.
So where can people go if they want to learn more or maybe take their first step?
Somebody with an idea or somebody who's already started with an idea should certainly check out the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's website, michiganbusiness.org.
Allison Todd, I really want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Dan.
That's it for this week's Rise Unwind. I'm AV. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you want to keep up with the show, then you can find us on social media. Just search Rise Unwind on IG or Facebook. We've also got YouTube at Rise Unwind. You can find everything in one place at riseunwindtv.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll talk at you soon.